Hello and welcome back. Today I'm doing something different. I want to talk more about my own career development, but more specifically, the horrible mistakes I've made with my career. And hopefully it's going to serve as a reminder or some sort of inspiration for you. And I'm not saying that career was all disastrous. There's a lot of rewarding aspects of the career I've had so far, but I've chosen to leave that career and go into something different. So looking back, there are a lot of things I could have done differently. But, I think we all make mistakes, and what inspired me to transition into something different was listening to other people and observing myself and reflecting on my past mistakes. So sharing that with you, and hopefully that could serve as something important, hopefully maybe at a pivotal moment of your life too. I don't have a lot of notes for this one, but I will be side-eyeing from time to time just to look at my notes and see what I've written down. So if I do that, that's what's happening. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, so I will be dividing the content into 3 sections. The first section is how I actually became an advertising strategist planner, a media strategist, all that, so many titles I've had. Secondly, what changed, what got me to transition out of that. And as I mentioned, a lot of other people's ideas and suggestions and their advice helped me on that transition. And lastly, the crucial lessons I've learned, and also I suppose like a trick that I would use from the beginning if I could begin again. I mean, I am beginning again, but my first career, the first time around. Okay, so let's dig in, and hopefully it's going to help you in some way. So the first story I want to tell is how I actually ended up becoming an advertising planner or media strategist. I've done both, but the job titles in that industry can be quite confusing. So just to simplify for you, what I was doing was essentially taking my clients' money and telling them how to spend it, on what strategy with which celebrity in what channel. And of course, there's a whole range of ideation behind it. There's a lot of planning behind it. You need to justify your strategy and why client needs to access certain resources and go to certain countries, etc. It can be very interesting and exciting, and I think a lot of people dream about going into such a career. It sounds glamorous, and there are certainly a lot of opportunities, and the pay is pretty good. So I got to that position through, I say, unconventional means. It is not my ultimate career goal, but when I was younger, when I was like 12 or 13, I received a book. Someone gave me a book about the Coca-Cola company, and especially how the branding person, I think he was either the chief marketing manager or a person of that rank, who detailed how they were planning advertising campaigns for Coca-Cola. And it just sounds really interesting. So when I was at that age, I think I wanted to become either a teacher or a radio host or a writer. And I did do work related to that when I was in school, like do school publications and things like that. But the idea of advertising did also enter my vision, my peripheral vision as well. So when I eventually, when I graduated with an economics degree, and that's a story on its own, which I won't delve into right now, I looked around and thought, advertising seemed to be the most interesting and accessible career given my major, given what I studied for at uni. And because I am extremely interested in psychology, I've always been reading on psychology. I would just, research on the subject on my own as well. And I felt like advertising would be the closest to what I was thinking of doing, short of becoming a psychologist. But the road of getting there, of becoming a planner and strategist, still took me a very long time and a lot of planning, because even though I've lived most of my life in English-speaking countries, I wasn't born into that culture. I am bilingual, but to be a planner or as a strategist, that is the one role in the entire industry that requires very in-depth cultural understanding and cultural fluency. Not only the language, but the culture of the people you're trying to sell to, the people you're trying to communicate with. You have to know them really well, their demographic, their psychographic, and it's a whole lot of barriers in front of me. And it did take me a very long time and a lot of talking internally, finding the right contact. I remember at one point I was working in an agency with around 120 people, which doesn't seem like a big company, but we were servicing some of the biggest clients. I won't name names, but a lot of huge names out there. But out of the entire agency, there was only one planning team. So there were only 5 or 6 people on that team out of the 120 people. And it was very competitive and selective to get on that team. So I did have to try a lot of different, pull a lot of strings. I didn't have any contact. So I had to find mentors and find resources and the whole thing to squeeze into this team. So after that, I sort of got on this track of working in advertising strategy, but it still took me many years to work on agency side and the client side, a lot of different roles to be able to call myself a planner or strategist, and working with other people from other advertising in the industry and different functions to understand how that whole ecosystem worked. So that's kind of a short summary of how I got into the industry, the profession.